Well, we're finally in. I want to thank everybody for being patient. We're not at our normal time quite, but welcome back to another episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. Tonight's going to feel a little different. Our guest had to reschedule. Yeah, it happens. Life doesn't always follow our plans, right? But instead of canceling the episode, I decided we're going to do something meaningful, something personal, something we don't always make space for. So tonight, it's just you and me out there. And we're going to talk about questions survivors are afraid to ask out loud. You know, the questions you Google at 2 a.m., questions like you whisper to your friend, maybe. Uh, Sorry about that. And, the person that you trust, or questions you write in your journal but never say out loud. Questions maybe that you feel too complicated, too heavy, or too embarrassing, or too painful to speak. So I get these kind of questions every single week. Sometimes we get them in our comments on all our different social media platforms, sometimes in our DMs or in our emails, or quietly after speaking at an event. Because survivors can carry a level of shame and confusion and grief and self blame that the outside world doesn't understand. So tonight, I want to sit with you in those questions. I want to make some space for the messy and honest, and feel free to be vulnerable if you can. And I want you to know you are not alone in wondering these things. Because if you've ever asked, why didn't I leave sooner? Or why do I still miss them? Or is it still abuse if he never hit me? Or did I cause that abuse? Or why do I feel guilty for leaving? These are all like the top questions we all have. And it's okay to question all of that. And you're not broken by questioning that. You're not dramatic and you're not weak. You're definitely human. And we are all survivors. And so we'll talk about some of that openly and compassionately without judgment. And thank you for staying with us here on Through the Eyes of Survivors.
Important notice: the following content may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised. All discussions are based on personal opinions and experiences. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to a local support organization. Important notice: the following...
All right, we're back. Really briefly, before we get into the discussion here, um, I want to plug our great affiliates, Truthfinder. I want to take a time to talk to you about something that can really empower you in your journey towards safety and healing. It's called Truthfinder. It's a simple tool that helps you uncover public records and background information about people you may encounter in your life, whether you're reconnecting with someone from your past or just want to ensure the people around you are trustworthy. Truthfinder provides you with the information you need to make informed decisions. And I have used it. It is a great tool. Here at Through the Eyes of Survivors, we're all about creating that safe space and giving survivors tools they need to reclaim their power. That's why it's exciting for us to share Truthfinder with you. It is a tool that helps you control your own security and peace of mind. So try it out, support our podcast, visit the link, and thank you for supporting our mission. Also, our Self Defense Keychain Store. We're proud to partner with the Self Defense Keychain Store. It's an official affiliate of Through the Eyes of Survivors. This is a woman run an owned business that develops stylish, discreet self-defense tools. Go over to their website through our link and put in Break the Silence for your 10% off. And also Opus Clips. We're thrilled to partner with Opus Clips. It's an AI-driven platform that helps us turn powerful podcast moments into short, impactful clips. From our survivor stories to hard truths, Opus Clips help us amplify our voices and spread awareness across all our platforms. So if you want to turn your content into scroll stopping reels and shorts, try Opus Clips. We have a special link for that as well in the comments and description. So let's talk about that first, question that everybody, I mean, people ask us this, let alone we ask ourselves. Why didn't I leave sooner? It's like the number one question that people want to say, they put out there, and they'll ask you as well. I have heard it a million times as a survivor, as an advocate, as a mom, when they're talking to me about Ashley and her situation. And the truth is, survivors don't stay because they're weak. They stay because they're human. I mean, in my own case, I stayed because I had children. Right. And every survivor's reason for staying is a little different. And some of those reasons are the same. So, one of the things that we have in common with that is because we were all hopeful. We were all hopeful for that person to be what we initially thought they were in the beginning of the relationship, because they were so great, they were so loving, they were so attentive, right? And when the cracks started to happen in the relationship, you were thinking, oh, well, I can get back to this place because it was so wonderful, right? That's one of the common factors, is that every survivor is hopeful that the relationship will be what they initially thought it was in the beginning. And please feel free in the comments to tell me what your thoughts are on all of that as well, or what happened within your relationship. I know another common factor all of us as survivors have is the fear, because eventually what we start going through is the fear. And there's different things that we may have in fear, but fear is the base of it. It could be from fear of being alone, fear of nobody will believe you, fear of being financially stable enough to be on your own, fear of what will happen with the children. They use and manipulate that fear. So that's one of the biggest things. And the majority of us have some kind of trauma bond, and that's related. We are bonded with this person through trauma, and they do that to us on purpose, right? So, uh, it makes that question, the answer to that question, why didn't I leave sooner, very complicated, because you have been conditioned, you have been scared, you have been isolated, and leaving is definitely the most dangerous time, and we know it because all those threats, all those things that come into play that we've heard so many times, they will play over and over again in our head. And we know what a danger they are to us and to our children and to our families and to our pets. The threats that go on are unreal, and it's hard to imagine that someone you love, is the person that could be creating all of this behind you, that is bringing so much pain when you used to have so much joy with them. And they make it where you second guess and you doubt yourself. It has to be maybe my fault, something along those lines, right? So thank you, Holly, for jumping in. Definitely. So Holly says, my reason was because I thought I could fix him and make it how it was in the beginning, also fearful he would tarnish my reputation in an industry that we both worked in. Absolutely. And I personally, stayed. I tell people all the time, I thought he had potential. That was the word I used, was potential. He had potential. I could work with that. I could fix that. And I didn't even realize, like, how that's not potential, right? I didn't even have a clue of what I was really dealing with. I was so young back then, and I really had no clue or energy and stake in it, Um, no, none of us stay because there's something wrong with us. We stay because something's wrong with them, because they can't let us go, because we can't get out safely, because the things they have done has created this whole dynamic around it that it's so dangerous that, you know, it's hard to imagine unless you're in the middle of it and experienced it. So, out there, if anyone hasn't ever told you this before, you did leave, and that's why it matters. It matters a whole lot. You did. So don't ever question, why didn't I leave him sooner? You did leave. That's the important part, right? So just be proud of yourself that you were able to do that and get out safely. So I think another question, maybe one of the more common ones, I'm sure that my other fellow advocates and stuff would talk about, and that we all do, is, why do I still miss him? That question carries a lot of shame, unbelievable shame, because even after abuse, even after the trauma, even after all the near-death experiences and everything that went on, you may still miss them in good moments. I will say with mine, and of course, if you're free to pop in your experiences, please do. But I know with mine, there was a time he went and got help. We went to do some family counseling, and he got diagnosed as bipolar and with schizophrenic tendencies on all this, and he got put on medication. And it was precarious for a little while because some of the medications made him go real insane. But then they finally did get him on a particular medication that, while he was on it for a year and a half, I'd have to say it was a good marriage, and he was good to the kids, and he was good to me, and he was working. And so those good moments, it when they went away, when he decided to quit taking that medication, when he decided he didn't need that anymore, and we were back at where we were, but worse. I can still look back, and I've been divorced from him for 25 years, look back at that year and a half and say, that was actually a really beautiful time. But out of 13 years of marriage, a year and a half of that, and he did not want to change. He only did it for a short period of time to make everybody happy. And then he made it clear he wasn't happy like that. And he wasn't going to take that medication, and he wasn't going to do what he felt like, back to where kind of like that potential I thought that he had, that I used that, and he was trying to be what I wanted, and he wasn't being himself. But being himself, I couldn't live with. It was unbearable, the things he did to me and the kids. So don't ever apologize for good moments. Some of those good moments may have been real, and other good moments were, them being fake with you because they want to get in your good graces. But there's nothing wrong with looking back and thinking that there were good moments. Don't beat yourself up for good moments. But don't ever go back for those good moments, because you're not going to have that. It's not real. It's like living in the fun house, kind of, in a way. You'll have one mirror that shows you in reality, and all the other mirrors are distorted. And the reality is you're living in that distortion, right? And not the real you. You're not seeing the real him. So don't apologize for missing good moments. Of a version he pretended to be, of a future you thought you were building, the fantasy he sold you. Missing an abuser doesn't mean you want him back. When I think back at that time, I surely don't want him back. Never. No, that's not happening. But it means you're grieving a person you actually thought you had, that you never really had. And that's okay. That's okay. Let me see your comments here real quick. So, thank you for coming in, Jennifer. Jennifer said, I left. He took my girls via paid family court professionals. I am so sorry you had to do that. And Cindy, thank you for joining us too. Let's see. Casey says, leaving an abusive relationship is the most lethal time of a relationship. Absolutely. This is the time period where their anger is at an all-time high, smear campaigns erupts, and the flying monkeys come out. Oh, we love the flying monkeys, don't we? Definitely, they come out with a vengeance. A famous psychological manipulation tactic often used still is the V for Vendetta. It's a verbally scary and terrifying time indeed. You're right. The person you thought you care for was completely fake. Yes. Absolutely. And Jim chimed in, yes, when when a jackass has a broken leg, you don't fix it. You put it down and get rid of it. That's pretty blunt right there. That's pretty much what it is in a nutshell, isn't it? Um, so another common question that a lot of us, think at that 2 a.m. Time in the morning that we've gotten through our DMs a lot is it still abuse if he never hit me? I can't tell you how many speaking engagements I've gone out and spoke before people conferences between with professional women, even a congresswoman, um, city council women that once I talk about my story and abuse and stuff, they come to me and say, wow, I didn't know that in my previous marriage I was an abused wife. I always thought because he never hit me that I wasn't a survivor of an abuse. So I want to say this as clearly as I can to anybody out there listening. Emotional abuse is abuse. Financial abuse is abuse. Sexual coercion is abuse. And so many young women need to hear that one because that is very prevalent nowadays. Control, isolation, intimidation, all of that is abuse. All of that. So just because the physical never entered didn't mean that they didn't use all of these factors to control you in your relationship. Bruises, when you have bruises, that fades and bones heal and you don't forget what it was like, for sure. But the emotional scars, at least for me, speaking for myself, I still 25 years later am dealing with the emotional scars that were left behind on me. And those can last a lifetime. Pain without bruises is still pain. And it still, can leave lasting effects on you for a very long time. So, I'm trying to think if any of you have some of the questions that linger, please put those in the chat here. I think this is a good place, since we were running a little late, to do our mid-roll break. We're going to pause for just a moment to highlight our Holidays of Hope program here at BTSADV. Every year we help families impacted by domestic violence. We help these children experience the holiday season and fill them with support and compassion and dignity. Many of these families, these children are starting over with nothing. They have lost their parents to, death or, prison. And if you would like to, help provide a gift, there's links here where you can donate directly or visit our website. We're going to play a quick reel about our Holidays of Hope, and we'll be right back.
This Christmas, some children are facing their first holiday without a parent. Lost to domestic violence, these little ones are learning what it means when a chair stays empty, when stockings hang unfilled, when the magic of Christmas feels impossibly far away. But you can change that. Through BTSADV's Holidays of Hope program, your donation becomes more than a gift. It becomes proof that they are still loved, still remembered, still worthy of joy. A teddy bear reminds them of comfort. Art supplies spark creativity that trauma tried to steal. A simple toy whispers what they need to hear most: you matter. These children have lost so much, but they don't have to lose Christmas too. Donate today. Sponsor a child's holiday. Give them the gift of knowing that even in their darkest moment, A community of caring hearts surrounds them. Visit breakthesilencedv.org because every child deserves to believe in hope again.
And we're back. All right. So we're talking about those questions that we definitely don't dare talk about, that we ask ourselves as survivors, back in the background, in the back of our head. The questions we're afraid to say out loud, right? So I know we talked about some different things about within the relationship. I think another one is, why do I feel guilty for leaving? Because boy, that's really strong, especially when you're going through it and it's happening in those moments, because we're so conditioned to feel responsible for everyone else's emotions. You know, we've spent years walking on eggshells, worried about his feelings, our family's feelings, his family's feelings, the kids' feelings, that we're just conditioned into a way of, hyper focusing on what everybody else feels and not ourselves. And we spend years avoiding that conflict, right? Years of protecting their reputation, even though they've spent years destroying ours. Years of making, ourselves smaller, really, to avoid the explosion that we know is fixing to come. And so when you finally do leave, your nervous system is totally on panic. Your trauma bond is like screaming out loud, and it's deafening. And so it brings up that guilt. It rises up. You can feel it in the pit of your stomach. Why do I feel that guilt? He has beat me. He's abused me. He's nearly killed me. He's hurt my pets. He's traumatized my children. Why would I feel guilty for leaving all that, right? And it's normal. It's normal. Every one of us feel that way. And there is so much, Casey says there's trauma impact in the brain that changes our chemistry, in abuse. And I agree with that. It definitely changes the chemistry and the thought process and what we're dealing with. But, the truth is, leaving is like one of the bravest things we've ever done. And we don't even consider ourselves brave for it. We literally survived some of the most unimaginable things that can happen to a person. And we don't even consider ourselves the warriors we are. The, courage it took, how brave we are. Like I said, we don't think of ourselves in those manners. And we don't think of ourselves as, I personally have a thing about, I'm just doing what I would do. This is who my personality dictates, right? And so I don't see myself as anything extra special when I really should, because there are a lot of people who have not been able to endure, who have not been able to break free, who are still in it every day. And I've never given myself the real credit. Why do we do that? We don't give ourselves the real credit for that. I know some of the survivors I talk with and work with, and they endure things like that, called imposter syndrome. If you haven't heard it, definitely look it up. And it's a result from many, many years of abuse, even childhood trauma, where we can't allow ourselves to take credit or feel good for anything that we are worthy of. I have spent years, it's hard for me to imagine that. I still in my head think I'm just a mom who got out. I am a mom who, you know, has a child who did not get out, which is very hard to deal with. That's another level. But I don't see myself as anything extraordinary. I started volunteering, I started advocating. But when I look back, I have grandchildren, I have another daughter. We're breaking that cycle. And that alone is extraordinary, even under the circumstances that we have lived with. Um, and I'm heading this organization, which I would have never imagined I could do. And the other things I've done speaking across the country, and I'm still very like, blasé about it, because I feel that's a part of what is left over in my trauma. It makes it hard that that's a type of imposter syndrome for us to recognize the fact we went back to school and we got our degree and we got good jobs and even may have really great relationships now, but we don't think of ourselves as anything extraordinary. And that guilt tends to live on still within us, that somewhere along the lines we made the wrong decision. Did we make the wrong decision in leaving? Did we make the wrong decision in waiting too long? Or did we leave too soon? Or it's a sign that we were manipulated for way too long. Way too long. And it's part of ourselves that we have to take back. Jim says, I had a young lady this week ask me how she should deal with her family when they won't believe her that her boyfriend is abusive. There's this comment. Of course, that is a very big question right there. How to deal with your family when they won't believe you, when they won't believe the boyfriend is abusive. That is a very, very hard situation to be in, because a lot of times, a lot of us have family who think we are over dramatic already. There's usually I'm just not every family, when that dynamic is happening, there was some kind of underlying trauma or abuse or whatever with those family members before they got the boyfriend. And so they're not only dealing with the boyfriend and the trauma with that, they're dealing with the back childhood trauma as well. So in order to deal with it, they're going to have to, when we are in those situations, you have to not count on trying to make that family member believe it. They're not going to. Those family members are not going to believe it. Not until it's way beyond, because they don't want to see it. And a lot of times because it means that they have to admit to what they did. And they are not really ready to look at that either. So we've got to be prepared when we leave abusive boyfriends or husbands or whatever, that we may have to disconnect from that family that we endured that trauma with at the same time. And don't count on them not believing you. Jim, that young lady needs to find friends or somebody who will believe her, because there is someone out there who will. And that's the people she needs to connect with. Do not waste your time on people, friends, family who will not believe you. That is just a waste of energy. And it tends to lock you into whatever he said was true to start with, that no one's going to believe you. Somebody is going to believe you. We have a support line, and they'll throw that support line number up here. If anybody wants to call that, we will believe you. If you need someone to talk to you and you have resources, call them. They will listen for sure. So that was a really good question there, Jim. Um, so I think, let's see. Are there any other, anybody else has any other questions, or any of the questions that they felt like, maybe like, I think another one that I have heard now thinking about it a lot was, did I cause the abuse? That's one that I had in me for quite some time. I must have caused this because I argued too much. Believe it or not, I can be a little salty. I come from a family who picks on each other a lot, and we like to pick back and forth. So when I got into a relationship, when I picked at him thinking this is normal relationship stuff, he used that against me. Definitely. You caused this. Your family's abnormal. The way you guys react are abnormal. You guys are not, you're creating this because you were being ugly and you were saying something, and that hurt me, and that's your fault. And you think, well, if I hadn't yelled at them, or if I hadn't cleaned better, stupid crap like that, if I had said something different, because they're constantly pushing that. If I had been a little calmer in this situation, that type of thing. And the answer to all of that is no. No, absolutely not. You did not cause the abuse. You nothing you can do in that realm can make any kind of excuse for what they put on you. You didn't do nothing, and nothing justifies it. Nothing justifies them choosing, and it is a conscious choice they made, to hurt you. Because if somebody, here's the big thing that you can look at as a thermometer, basically, to test that, is if a coworker had said the same thing, or his parent, or his sibling, some other friend out there, his best friend, would have done or said the same things, and they didn't react to them the way they reacted to you, it wasn't you. It was a choice they made. And it was all about controlling you, manipulating you, terrorizing you. It is a decision. Abuse is a decision. And not just a decision, it's a strategy. It's a tactic. And it goes in cycles, so you can predict it. And it's a pattern. And it belongs 100% to the abuser. It does not belong to you. That is for sure. So don't think that there is something you could have done that caused that to happen. Because the reality is, no. Put the blame where the blame needs to lay, and leave it there. So let me see here in the comments. Okay. Well, I know if anybody else had any other questions in here, I'd love to address it. But those are kind of the things off the top of my head. Knowing that we got into the podcast late, and I had to come in here and kind of wing it for y'all today. But I definitely want to just let you guys know that, as we wrap up, I want everyone to hear me clearly. Your questions like this, the things you go over through your head, just make you human. Asking them is part of healing. I would be more disturbed if you weren't asking yourselves those types of questions. You don't have to hide your confusion about it either. You don't have to carry shame about it either. Yeah, and you don't have to walk alone in this journey. You are worthy of some answers and compassion and understanding, healing. Most of all, you're worthy of love. So I just want you to all to know that. Jim just chimed in and said, "It's impossible to make a man who truly loves you put his hands on you in anger. It's not happening." I agree. I think that's a good thing to kind of wrap up this episode with and close. I do have a few reminders out there for everyone. If you do need support, our BTSADV support line is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. It is in the comment section and in the description if you need it. It's also, the number is 855 BTS 1777. Also, please give us some likes, follow, share our podcast here on Facebook, YouTube. Your support is helping to reach even more survivors out there. Also, during this time of year, BTSADV does have an online store, and we do have some really cute, nice Christmas items out there. Every purchase helps fund our programs. Check out our Survivor to Survivor section, where we do answer your questions on Fridays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5-10 minutes. And please share those, because somebody else out there that may be asking the exact same questions that we kind of went over today, but in different things. From child custody to any kind of question you have as a survivor or through your trauma or healing. Send that to us over at podcast at breakthesilencedv.org. And also check out our TikTok. We are at BTSADV7 over on TikTok. And watch our Narc Diaries episode, where everybody chimes in what their narcissist said to them. And thank you for definitely being a part of this survivor community. And thank you for engaging with me today. And for being late. But next week, we will be back with Through the Eyes of Survivors Uncensored. The wonderful Amanda will be here with us, where we're going to discuss a current news topic that pertains to domestic violence and break that down for you. And we'll see you next time on Through the Eyes of Survivors.
At BTSADV, every survivor deserves to feel seen, supported, and safe. But we can't do this work alone. When you volunteer with BTSADV, you're not just giving your time, you're giving hope. Hope to survivors rebuilding their lives. Hope to children who've lost a parent to domestic violence. Hope to families healing after trauma. We have volunteer opportunities for every skill set. Support line volunteers who answer calls with compassion. Graphics creators who build our educational posts and campaigns. Editors who turn podcasts into powerful short-form videos. Social engagement volunteers who help keep our pages safe. Podcast moderators who guide conversation and protect survivors live. Website editors who help publish survivor stories and resources. And video reel creators who bring awareness to millions. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need special degrees. You just need a willingness to show up with courage and empathy. We train you. We support you. We walk with you every step of the way. If you've ever wanted to make a difference, if you've ever said, "I wish I could